most states in the U.S. have something known as a felony murder rule. That means that if someone gets killed in the process of a crime that's happening, then the people who are convicted of that crime will serve either life in jail without the chance of parole, or they could get the death penalty depending on the state. Now, in Florida, this law does apply, and as a result, a man by the name of Ryan Holle will be in prison for the rest of his life with no chance of parole because he was convicted of premeditated murder. Now, he must have done something really serious, right?
Yeah, that sounds really bad.
Here's what he did. It turns out that after a party about 10 years ago, he gave his roommate permission to use his vehicle. His roommate then drove the car to someone's home where he knew that there was marijuana, and he was with a group of friends, and they were planning on robbing a woman of the marijuana that she had. She had about 1 pound. While they were trying to rob her, a girl was murdered. Her name is Jessica Snyder. She got killed, and so the people that were involved in the crime were tried and they were convicted. Ryan Holle never went to the scene of the crime. All he did was allow his roommate to use his vehicle. He actually went to sleep after the party, and the prosecutors in the case acknowledged that. Now, during the trial, he was offered a plea deal and he refused to take it because he didn't feel like he committed any type of crime. He could have been sentenced to 10 years in prison if he took that plea deal. Since he didn't and he went to trial instead, he was convicted, and now he was sentenced to life without the chance of parole. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, so let's think this through for a second. Now, felony murder is, look, if you're going to go and you're going to participate in something like this and you got a gun, or your buddy has a gun, you got to know that something can go wrong. And if people shoot back and forth, somebody gets killed. Even if your friend gets killed, by the way, if the person who has the pot or the homeowner or whatever kills you or your friend or anyone involved in the robbery, that's still felony murder. So I get why the rule exists. And in reality, prosecutors use it to be able to do better plea negotiations, right? And so now, and I get why people in other countries are opposed to it. England, India, Canada, et cetera, have gotten rid of it, right? But in this case, he wasn't involved in the crime. And there's actually no evidence to indicate that he was aware that a crime was going to take place.
Right. So the police initially showed up to his apartment, told him what happened, and they claim in the police report that he had somehow indicated that he was aware that a crime was going to be committed. However, there was a dispute as to whether or not that was true.
Now, even if he was aware that they were going to go commit a crime, I would still say, like, probation or something along those lines, maximum of a year sentence, if he knew that they were there was going to be a crime and they were bringing a gun, etc., right?
Yeah, because remember, the initial intent was to steal the marijuana, to rob this woman of the marijuana. And by the way, the woman who was selling the marijuana was the mother of the victim, and she served 3 years in prison as a result of this crime as well.
Right. So, but I would be hard-pressed to believe that you could prove to a jury that, and apparently they did, though, which is unbelievable, right? But if I was on the jury, that you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he knew for a fact that they were going to go to commit that crime and bring the weapon and all that stuff, right? And if you're not sure that the guy knew about all of these plans and was looking forward to them doing it, even though he wasn't going to be involved in the crime, wasn't going to profit from the crime, etc., and you're going to give that guy a life sentence?
Yep.
No, that's inexcusable. It's mental. All right, look, I criticize oftentimes, I'm not a softie on crime. I criticize the Norwegian system. I think they're way too soft. And yeah, we get, hate for that from the international community. We're Americans, we're too tough. But this is beyond all bounds of reason, man.
Because think about what kind of precedent that sets. Like,
exactly.
not only did it destroy this guy's life, but it could destroy anyone's life, right? If you have a friend or a family member who's going to commit a crime and they're somehow using your property in order to commit that crime, but you didn't know about it, or you somehow, indicated that you did know about it, but you really didn't, who knows? All of a sudden, you could serve a life in prison sentence with no chance of parole.
I'll go one step further. At this point, I mean, America's so mental with this crime stuff and the injustice that we have in this city. At this point, you should never lend your car to anyone. Because what if, by some chance, they went and committed a crime and somebody got killed in that crime? No, that's it. You're going to go to prison for life because you were a good guy and lent your friend a car. No, it's crazy. You know how long he's been in prison? This isn't a case that just happened and like, oh, well, he'll probably get out. He's already been in prison for 11 years. There's no end to how crazy that is.
By the way, let me give you guys some details about the trial. The trial, including all the testimony and the jury deliberations, took 1 day. That was it.
Oh, and
1 day.
It goes to show the power of the prosecution, right? Because how in the world did that jury go, oh, yeah, okay, right, yeah, you lent a car, okay, good enough, we'll send you away for life, right? No possibility of parole. No, we've become so draconian that it's gone from comedy to tragedy. This is ridiculous. At any moment, any of us can be put in prison forever on the stupidest thing. The guy that pointed a laser at a helicopter the other day got 14 years in prison. That's a stupid little prank. It's dumb. You shouldn't do it. It's 14 years. We've done cases where there's no violence.
Yeah.
Just for drugs, you get a life sentence, no parole. Now you lent a car to your friend and that's it. You spend the rest of your life in prison.
Yeah.
Now America's lost its mind on this.
There is a loophole for those of you who are wondering. If you're wealthy enough and you have a defense claiming that you suffer from affluenza, well, then you can murder 4 people while you're driving drunk, and then that's okay. No prison time for you. You just get some probation and rehabilitation.
Isn't that amazing? 2 recent stories. Anna's referring to the kid who was drunk driving and not necessarily murdered, but killed those 4 people that he hit. And when he was 3 times the level of the drinking limit, right? And he had stolen the liquor in the first place.
Yeah.
Felony murder, anyone? But no, he gets no time, right? DuPont Air goes and sexually assaults his
own children.
Like, what were they, 3 years old? One of them, his own daughter and his son? No time, because he wouldn't do well in prison. This guy lends his car to somebody, life in prison. Look, man, they're courting disaster here. There's only so much people can take. And they're bringing people to the edge with stuff like this. This country, man, there's a lot of good parts to it, but it's hard not to get frustrated with the massive injustice. Because in the first hour, we did the story about how 2 Princeton researchers basically prove that public opinion polls are irrelevant, meaning that what the public believed, okay, the average American believes on a certain issue is irrelevant. It has no effect on whether the law is going to pass or not. Now, what lobbyists believe and what economic elite believe has a direct correlation to which law is going to pass. Okay, it's one thing when it's laws that pass and they get lower taxes and we get more taxes, and that's crushing enough as it is. That's a form of robbery in some ways. It's another thing when they're locking up your kids forever, right? And then or they kill your kids and then get to walk. So only so much people can take, man.